Welcome to our symposium, Sports and Gender. My name is Yasuko Miyajima, a cultural sports journalist. Currently, I am the chair of this part of the event. The theme that we will be tackling today is entitled Sexual Biases Based on the Characteristic of Sports and Willpower to Participate Beyond Sexual Differences. I'll be asking opinion of 3 experienced people in the said field, and we will be discussing it as well. Without further ado, let me introduce you our symposiast. Masaki Suga was born in Oita, Japan in 1991. He began training for men's rhythmic gymnastics when he was 9 years old. At the age of 15, he was a winner of the individual all-round competition at the All Japan Junior Championships. He entered Hanazono University and he won his 2nd championship in a row in the individual all-round competition of the All Japan Student Championships. While he was in university, he passed an audition for Cirque du Soleil. He took a leave of absence from university to perform in Las Vegas. He had performed at the show called Michael Jackson 1 as a men's rhythmic gymnastics performer for 3 years. After leaving Cirque du Soleil, he returned to the university and graduated. After graduating, he worked as a coach at his alma mater, Hanazono University, but he felt his coaching skills were limited, so he enrolled in the Graduate School of Nippon Sports Science University to study coaching. After graduating, he became the coach of Hanazono University. At present, he started a new rhythmic gymnastics team at Classic University of Science and the Arts. He works to promote and develop men's rhythmic gymnastics. Friba Rezayee was born and raised in Afghanistan. She made history by competing in judo at the Athens Summer Olympic Games as one of Afghanistan's first female Olympians. Friba's participation in the Olympics brought back Afghanistan at World Sports Arena after the fall of the Taliban. She inspired hundreds of other Afghan girls to join different sports. It was a sports revolution for Afghan female athletes. She has a bachelor's degree in political science from University of British Columbia, Canada. She has been an advocate for women and girls' education, gender equality, human rights, and women's rights in Afghanistan and worldwide from an early age to present. She is currently working as an educator at an elementary school in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. She is a founder of the non-profit GOAL, which stands for Girls of Afghanistan Lead. The GOAL initiative aimed to give Afghan women formal athletic training, coaching, and leadership skills. Friba Rezayee is currently leading a refugee judo team to World Championships with International Judo Federation for Refugee with a Judo Mission Project. Bill May began his synchronized swimming career at 10 years old in Syracuse, New York. At the age of 16, Bill moved to Santa Clara to train with the world-renowned Santa Clara Aquamates Synchronized Swimming Club, run by Olympic coach Chris Carver. As a member of the Santa Clara Aquamates, Bill was the first male to win national and international title in the sport. He is a trailblazer in the sport of synchronized swimming, paving the way for other male synchronized swimmers to get involved in the sports and compete at major international competitions. In 2015, alongside his duet partner, Bill May brought home the gold from the 2015 World Championships in the inaugural mixed duet event in Kazan, Russia. Together, they made history winning the technical mixed duet. Bill was also awarded a silver medal in Kazan. Bill has competed at every World Championship since and won 2 bronze medals. Currently performs with Cirque du Soleil All and has collaborated with the Nevada Ballet, One Night for One Drop, and various performance companies throughout the world. Bill also gives back to the sport through coaching younger athletes all the way up to Olympic teams. First, 3 symposiasts will share their experiences as athletes, and later we will discuss the things that we should value when participating in sports beyond gender differences. First up, Mr. Masaki Suga from Japan.
Hello. お願いします。So, when you hear men's rhythmic gymnastics, what kind of sport do you imagine? You may imagine women rhythmic gymnastics performed by men. In some countries, the region includes Japan, Spain, and Canada, men perform rhythmic gymnastics. There is not single internationally shared pattern of men's rhythmic gymnastics. There are multiple patterns of men's rhythmic gymnastics in these countries and regions. The Japanese version of men's RG is originated and developed in Japan. Unlike women rhythmic gymnastics, it is characterized by dynamics and acrobatic performance. There are 2 types of the Japanese version of men's RG. One is an individual competition which uses apparatus. The other in the team competition which is performed by 6 people without using apparatus. Unlike women rhythmic gymnastics apparatus such as ribbon and ball, the individual competition uses stick, rings, rope and clubs. We performed for 1.5 minutes for each. In the team competition, 6 members for 3 minutes without using apparatus. In both cases, they perform to music and not only the quality of the performance but also the artistry including in the variation. The population of the Japanese version of men's RG is said to be about 2,000 at present. We are trying to increase the number of competitors and develop the sport domestically and internationally. The Japanese version of men's RG is not yet well known in Japan. It's often mistaken for gymnastics or is so of the women's sports. People have asked me, are you going to roll the ribbon? Are you going to wear the leotard? And I have been teased too. People who had never seen the sport of men's rhythmic gymnastics before often laughed at me because of the image. It was very frustrating and it made me want to make the sport men's rhythmic gymnastics famous. Today, I still feel the same way and I am working hard to promote men's rhythmic gymnastics. I think many people have never seen the Japanese version of men's RG before, so let me show you the video of the team competition. It is a performance of Iwara High School, the winner of last year's inter-high school competition. What I would like you to pay attention to is their group synchronization. which is one of the attraction of the Japanese version of men's RG. Their strength, muscular beauty, and artistry that matches the music are also point to watch. So women rhythmic gymnastics and men's rhythmic gymnastics have their own unique feminine and masculine qualities. And I feel the masculine beauty in the Japanese version of men's RG. There may be a question as to whether it is necessary to reduce men's rhythmic gymnastics and women's rhythmic gymnastics to one rhythmic gymnastics symmetrically dualized by gender. There is an artistry that recognizes the difference between men and women. And I think that there are feminine beauty and masculine beauty. Nowadays, the number of female elementary school students and junior high school students who want to do the Japanese version of men's RG is increasing. I would like to show you the video as an example. So this is a performance of the mixed gender group for the legs gymnastics class that competition last year. What do you think when women perform the Japanese version of men's RG, they should unique lightness and feminine beauty, don't you think? So I think the Japanese version of men's RG can be performed by men and women. I spoke to the coach of the legs gymnastics class. The coach said girls have practiced with boys for about 10 years. There is not precedent for girls performing the Japanese version of men's RG, so they practice and taught in the same way as boys. Girls are frustrated because there is not opportunity to participate in the game or show their performance like boys. Even if they practice every day with boys, only boys can compete in games. Also, it is hard to girls to keep up motivation because many high schools don't have club for girls to perform the Japanese version of men's RG, so they can't keep performing. Now the team is trying participate in event and show their performance activity. In the future, they plan to perform as a club team rather than a school affiliation. I think that new directions such as a gender mix and group of girls only may be possible for the future development of the Japanese version of men's RG. I don't think it's a problem that men's rhythmic gymnastics vary between country or ring setting area. However, it's important to acknowledge it that there is not a single set of value for the competition or rule shared by each country or each linguistic area when we consider the sports of men's rhythmic gymnastics. And it is essential perspective when looking at the issue of internationalization of the sport. Men rhythmic gymnastics currently practiced in Japan have many different rules from those of women rhythmic gymnastics. The team competition of the Japanese version of men's RG don't use apparatus, so it doesn't fall under the global definition of rhythmic gymnastics. Because of it, I think there will be a debate about whether the name rhythmic gymnastics can be used. If it based on the principle of gender equality, rhythmic gymnastics should be withdrawn from Olympics because only women can compete. Or it should allow me to compete too. If men can compete, I hope the Japanese version of men's RG will be in Olympics. But as I mentioned earlier, since the Japanese version of men's RG does not fall under the definition of rhythmic gymnastics, I think that there is a high possibility that women rhythmic gymnastics performance by men will be in Olympics. If we can let us free from the image that the name of the Japanese version of men's RG gives, I think that there is a possibility that the Japanese version of men's RG will develop independently and be reborn as a new sport without difference between the sex. I believe in the possibility of the Japanese version of men's RG, and I would like to continue to develop and promote the sport to more people around the world. Thank you.
Next is Friba Rezayee.
Hi everyone, my name is Friba Rezayee. I was born and raised in Afghanistan. Today, my presentation is about women empowerment through sports. At a young age, I was very interested in doing non-traditional Afghan girl activities. For instance, biking, paragliding, and thinking to join the army. Just to prove to the Afghan society that girls are as strong and as equal to the boys. After watching Mike Tyson's boxing matches, I became a big fan of heavy boxing sport, and I wanted to do the same. I watched Laila Ali's live boxing match in our small refugee house in Peshawar, Pakistan in 2002 on a small cable TV. I was immediately inspired and wanted to become a world boxing champion. I actually believe that if I train hard, I can challenge Muhammad Ali's daughter, Laila Ali, at age of 16. Soon after the American invasion in 2001, my family returned to Afghanistan like hundreds of other Afghan families. I was immediately enrolled at girls-only school in Kabul, in the capital. I was still pursuing my boxing dream. My sports teacher introduced me to the Afghan National Olympic Committee, and they assigned a boxing coach to train me. He agreed, but I was the only girl practicing boxing sports at that time in the entire country. I started receiving death threats from my relatives, neighbors, and other people who came to know about my training. It was getting very dangerous, that one day my boxing coach called me and said that he can no longer train me. After insisting that how keen and dedicated I was, he said that, quote, "Boxing is not more valuable than your life," quote, and he hung up the phone. I learned that there was a man from my community waiting for me to come to my training and stab me to death. So I stopped going to my boxing training. I was in the search of a sports center so I could continue my training. My sports teacher told me that there is another place where they train girls in the capital. I visited that place right away. I met with Afghan coach Farhad Hazrati. As soon as I met him, I told him that I want you to train me world-class boxing so I can challenge Laila Ali in the US without any greetings and introducing myself first. And I was confident. He stared at me and said, "Please come in." He told me that this is a dojo where they practice judo, not boxing. When I walked into the dojo and saw the environment, I fell in love with this sport. I could already sense being empowered while walking at the dojo and have my freedom through sport. Soon after joining the dojo, I was able to travel and compete at different tournaments in the world. Its sports gave me confidence to travel by myself and be in charge of my life. Some of my family members did not agree with me. My first male cousins were threatening to hurt me if I dared to go outside of my home, my country, and practice with random boys at random dojos. But they couldn't stop me. I pursued my dream to be free. In 2004, I was able to travel to Norway. I never felt so powerful. I knew this is it. I am going to be independent from now on. There's nothing more scary than independent women or girls to zealous Afghan men. And I wanted that. On top of hard training in Greece prior to the Olympic Games, I continued my advocacy for Afghan women's rights. I had a great meeting with the mayor of Athens cities. She welcomed us and said, "You're not alone. We will be standing behind your back." I realized that the women's rights issue and gender inequality wasn't only in Afghanistan, but also in other countries. I was getting inspired and empowered every single day by just walking and talking to different athletes from around the world in the Olympic Village in Greece. And there I entered my judo match at the Olympic mat for the first time in the history of Afghanistan and IOC. My fight was against 4 times world champion from Spain. I did not win, but I made history and paved the way for other Afghan women. I was one of the first Afghan women to participate in the Olympics. My participation brought back Afghanistan and the world's sports arena after the fall of the Taliban. The world came to know that there are Afghan female athletes who are fighting for their rights, fighting for peace and stability. It was a sports revolution for Afghan female athletes. The world was watching me and cheering for me. However, back home, the fundamentalists were waiting for my return to punish me for participating in a tournament and not covering my head. After my return, I went into hiding. I was invisible from the worlds of sports and judo for almost a decade for my and my family's safety. Now that I'm in a safe place, I would like to contribute back and help other Afghan female athletes to achieve their goals. What a great timing to introduce you to the GOAL program. The GOAL word and GOAL theme was also the theme of 2020 years sustainable development under the international development scope. Go for the goals. My initiative is called GOAL. GOAL stands for Girls of Afghanistan Lead. I haven't started this initiative to empower Afghan women through sports. They can gain leadership in their communities. Gold Project is for Afghan women and girls' leadership in sports. Gold helps find short-term sports leadership training for Afghan girls in different sports and locations. The purpose of the Gold is to help the underprivileged Afghan girls to gain leadership in sports and become instructor to open their own sports clubs and or become professional athletes. Our first trip was to Japan. This trip was from January 18 to January 31st, 2020. I was the team leader, program coordinator, and spokesperson. We were hosted by the Japanese nonprofit organization NPO at Tokai University. In this trip, the girls and I trained with the best judo coaches and world judo champions from around the world. Many of those judo athletes were preparing for Tokyo 2020 Olympics. This was a professional judo development. The girls learned the history of judo, leadership skills, and were even more motivated to compete at international levels. Gold helped girls like Zakira Hosseini and Parveen Askari. They were the first recipients of this initiative, whom I personally introduced them to Tokai University and to NPO People and Management. Zakira is a trained midwife, professional tailor, a beautician, and is currently studying at Kabul University in Afghanistan and a professional judo athlete. But she's not allowed to practice any of these professions because of her abusive brothers. They use physical force to keep her at home and marry her off as soon as possible. But she's a rebel. She joined me in this trip without telling her brothers. Her brothers constantly physically abuse her. She showed me the bruises and scars on her body. I could see the trauma in her that was caused by physical abuse. Judo is helping her regain control of her body and life again. After 4 days stay in Japan, she woke up in the morning and began to stretch. And she told me in that morning voice that it feels good not to be beaten in 4 days in a row. She also said, it also feels good to be away from my brothers because if they can't reach me, they can't touch me. It's not only a judo sport for them, it's a safe place for them. Not necessarily safe from bad security in Afghanistan, but from abusive families, brothers in particular. Because while they are practicing judo inside their dojo, they are away from homes and brothers. Judo sports empowers these girls. It gives them freedom, independence, purpose in life, and dignity. She was very concerned about going back to Afghanistan after our trip to Japan to her brothers because she left home without telling them and will be even more abused and will be locked at home. No more judo and no more going outside for her. But luckily, the opposite happened. I talked to her a few days after her arrival in Afghanistan because I wanted to follow up with her and I was also concerned about her safety. She said that her brothers were nice to her and scared of her now. If they treat her badly again, she can leave them and go live her life independently anytime and anywhere. All this empowerment and confidence were gained from this trip to Japan. She has now power and respect in her family. Parveen Askari. Coming from a similar background, she is training very hard to become a judo world champion in the world. She is struggling with daily abuse and gender discrimination, but none of those obstacles can stop her. She was shy at the first day training at Tokai University, but she gained confidence after practicing with the best judo coaches and judo athletes. She was preparing for the Grand Prix in Germany on February 2020, but due to COVID-19, everything has been postponed. This is why I emphasize on girls and women's empowerment. This is not just a judo for them. It's about having an independent life and have an identity. I would like to also take a moment to thank the Japanese nonprofit organization and Tokai University for supporting Afghan girls financially and morally. Also, to mention the legacy of people of Japan and Japanese culture in Afghanistan. Judo is teaching us the art of gentleness, respect, empowering ourselves and our community in the healthiest way possible. I would like also mention about Dr. Nakamura's hard work, dedication, love, and care for Afghan people. Dr. Nakamura devoted to building canal projects from the Kunar River in eastern Afghanistan and was credited for transforming the desert of Gambari on the outskirts of Jalalabad province into a lush forest and productive wheat farmlands. He also constructed 2 hospitals and 2 mosques. In October 2019, the Afghan president Ashraf Ghani granted him honorary Afghan citizenship. On December 2019, Dr. Nakamura was assassinated by an unknown gunman. His bodyguards and driver were also killed. Dr. Nakamura is no longer with us, but his legacy of kindness, caring, and progress will always remain with us. My advice to human rights and women's rights supporters is to invest in girls and in such initiatives. For example, GOAL. Girls like Parveen and Zakira, because it's a smart investment. It boosts economic growth. It empowers girls, and those girls will shape the world like Greta Thunberg and Malala Yousafzai. Plus, they are the half of the population. Improved literacy can have a remarkable effect on women's earnings. There are many studies that prove that educated women are empowered to take a greater economic role in their families and communities, and they tend to reinvest 90% of what they earn back into their families. Investing in girls' education and empowering through sports also helps delay child marriage, young parenthood, and prevents violence against women. I highly and always advocate for gender equality for all because this is justice. Thank you.
Finally, this is Mr. Bill May, all the way from the United States.
Hello, my dear comrades and friends from around the world. I just wanted to send a very, very warm hello from Las Vegas. I wish I could be there in person, but because of these unforeseen times and unprecedented events, that's not possible, but I hope one day we have a chance to meet each other and share our stories and inspire each other and talk to each other and guide each other. So today I would like to share a little bit of my story as an artistic swimmer and the 30 years that have come into my journey. I was born in New York. I was actually a gymnast, and I had planned in my head that I was going to go to the Olympics for gymnastics. That was my goal, my dream, my love. Everything in my life was based on gymnastics. And one day my sister said, "Hey, I want to try this funny sport of synchronized swimming." Now it's called artistic swimming, but back then it was called synchronized swimming. So we went to a local pool, and I was a little bit nervous because I wasn't sure. We had moved outside the city, so I didn't have a choice. I could watch my sister try this synchronized swimming, or I could try it. And there were some other men doing the sport, so I thought, I'm just going to give it a try. And let me tell you, I was awful. I was the worst. I wasn't the worst man there. I was the worst swimmer there. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't figure out why, like how could people put their feet this way and their legs this way? And, and it was just something, but then that's where I thought, okay, I'm going to take that challenge. So this was the summer of 1989. Yep, so 21 years ago, a very long time ago. And after the summer, I thought, that's pretty fun. The local coach from the city asked if the bunch of us would come and try out and essentially join her team. So I thought, why not? I'm having fun. I like what I'm doing. I don't really know too much about this sport, but I've seen it on TV maybe a little bit. I didn't really think anything of it. I was having fun. Like any kid. I was 10 years old and I wanted to have fun. I wanted to spend time with my sister because she was doing it too. And I just wanted to meet new people, enjoy myself. And this gave me a chance to be in the water. I was a swimmer. I loved the water. So why not? So I went to try it. And from the moment I stepped onto that pool deck, I knew I loved this sport. I still wasn't sure exactly what it was, but there I was in that little tiny club in upstate New York thinking, okay, I could do this. So for a while I continued doing synchronized swimming and gymnastics at the same time. And after a couple of years, there was a turning point where I had to decide. And it was a difficult decision because in my head, I was going to go to the Olympics for gymnastics. That was my goal. That was my dream. And then finally, this explosion of love came into my heart wanting to do this artistic swimming. And so I retired from gymnastics and I went into synchronized swimming full time. And we practiced 4 times a week, and I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to keep training. And unfortunately, the club that I was swimming for was called the Syracuse Synchro Cats. And I had a great and wonderful coach, Dee O'Hara, who pushed us and taught us and nurtured us into very strong athletes at a young age. And as my club was folding, because she was moving away and we just couldn't sustain ourselves anymore, one day my coach came into my locker room and she said, hey, can I talk to you for a moment? And I thought, well, this is strange. Our club is over. What are we going to do? And there was a club that was about an hour away. So I thought, I'm going to continue to do this. I like it. It's a passion of mine. I'm going to do it. So my coach came into the dressing room, the locker room, and said she wanted to have a very serious conversation with me. And I thought, well, that's strange. I've been in trouble before. I've been yelled at before. I still wasn't very good. So why would she want to have a serious conversation? And she was, she was the mother of us. She was our synchronized swimming mom. So she sat me down and she says, I think you should take another path. And I said, what? I've already been doing this for 3 years. Why am I going to take another path? I love what I'm doing. And she said, I don't think this is your path. And I'm like, well, why not? And she said, you will never go to the Olympics for this sport. You will never go to the World Championships for this sport. You will only be hurt. This sport will hurt you for the rest of your life. And I thought to myself, well, that's a funny thing to say. This sport that I love, that she had built us, these strong athletes. Why would my coach say that to me? And it's because she loved me. She didn't want me to be hurt. But I took that moment as a challenge. And people asked me when I was young, why would you do this sport? Why do a sport where you can't go to the Olympics? And I never thought about it until maybe a journalist would ask me, or different friends would ask me, and I thought, well, why would anyone do a sport? People do a sport because they love the sport. We don't always choose the sport that we end up loving and doing for the rest of our lives. That sport chooses us. Somehow by a chance, and we all have various stories how we come into our sports. But, this sport chose me. And I loved it. So when my coach, who I love dearly and we're very dear friends, told me that I should choose a different pathway, you know, I thought to myself, oh, no one's going to tell me where my path will choose. What will be chosen for me? I would choose my own path. You know, I was stubborn, I was determined, whatever you want to call it. No one was going to tell me what I could and cannot do, or who I could not, you know, like train with, or, you know, where I couldn't go, where my dreams couldn't lead me. So right then and there, I thought, well, I'm going to show everyone wrong. You know, like, I'm going to be as far in the sport as I can, and I'm going to go everywhere I want to go. You know, so, you know, like, I didn't see that discrimination. I didn't see that, you know, like, that wall not allowing me to go to the Olympics, because I was 14. You know, I didn't know, you know, where my future was going to bring me. So, so I went to another club, and I trained with this other club for a while. And unfortunately, that club, we could only train 3 days a week for an hour and a half, and we were already traveling an hour there and an hour back. So there was a competition at the end of the summer, and a coach from another club, a competitive club against my club, came up to me and said, you know, I can see you have a dream, and I want to help you with that dream. And I want you to do everything your heart desires. So her name was Mary Ellen Wiegand, and she coached for the Buffalo Swimkins, and she's a very dear person. But again, she was a competitor. She was a judge. She was trying to beat us. But she also supported athletes. And that's what I always received from my family. And to get it from a competitive judge, I thought, okay, I'm going to get support. So she said, if you want to continue and do this sport, I think you're going to have to move to California and train with one of the largest clubs in the world. And they were called the Santa Clara Aquamaids. So I was very nervous. So I talked to my family. My family was always very, very supportive. My sister was still swimming. And I said, there's this crazy thing. This judge, this coach came up to me and said, I think you should move. You need to train harder. I see something in you. I believe in you. And that was the support I needed to think, okay, you know, like, I really want to pursue this. You know, and when athletes look into the future, I wish sometimes they could look into the future and see, you know, maybe they are giving up time with their friends, and they're called sacrificing, you know, special different interests, and, you know, giving up a lot as an athlete. But are we really giving up if we're following our passion? You know, or are we just choosing a different pathway? Are we choosing that path that our heart is leading us to? So she gave me the coach's number of the Santa Clara Aquamaids, and I called her, and I was very scared. I was very scared to call her, because I had seen her on TV. She had coached world champions. She was the best coach in the world. And so I called her, and I sat on my bed, and I was nervous to call her, and all I could think was, she's going to turn me down. You know, my dreams are going to be crushed. My dream wasn't to become an Olympian tomorrow. It wasn't to become a world champion. My dream was to be the best synchronized swimmer I could possibly be. So I called this coach, Chris Carver, and I said, hi, Mrs. Carver. She was called Mrs. Carver then, to me, even though now it would be weird to call her that. Now it's more like Mom or Chris. But so I called her and I said, Mrs. Carver, I want to be a better synchronized swimmer. Can I come and train with you? And she said, yes, please, come and train with you. Come and train with us. So 6 months later, I went and trained for a week with them, and they helped us choreograph a routine. And it was like my mind just exploded. There I was around the best synchronized swimmers in the world. These people had just gone to the world championships and won. And they were so gracious. Here I was, a little synchronized swimmer from upstate New York, and they were treating me like I was a great person. You know, so, you know, again, when people ask, well, why would you continue to choose this sport? You can't go anywhere. And then I would think, well, this coach supports me, and these athletes support me, and they're not segregating me. So why can't I be in this sport? Aren't I just another athlete that loves what they do, that wants to follow their dreams? So I moved to Santa Clara in 1995, fall of 1995, the year of the Olympic Games, when the team event first made its inaugural debut in the USA, won a gold medal with a perfect score. So, so I thought, wow, these athletes are amazing. I want to be that. I want to be at the Olympics. I want to be at the Pan American Games. I want to be at the World Championships. I want to be everywhere I could possibly be. So the following year, I trained with them for a year, and we ended up going to France, and we trained so much more than I had ever trained. We were training for even 8 hours a day. And I thought, this is the most amazing feeling in the world. I'm doing what I love. I'm spending time becoming greater at what I love, what my heart is telling me. And, I just kept pushing it. I started going to international competitions, and that following summer is really funny because I went to this competition called the American Cup, and I met my duet partner that would become my duet partner in 2017 and work with me later at Cirque du Soleil. So I went to every competition I possibly could. I went to the French Open, the German Open, the Swiss Open, the Rome Open in Italy, and I went and I was learning and I was experiencing. And again, I thought, this is incredible. This is what I love to do. And then I would have people say, why are you doing this sport? This sport is a women's sport. And I said, it's not a women's sport. How can it be a women's sport when I'm doing what I love and I'm having all these incredible, incredible opportunities? I just went to Rome. I just went to Germany. I just saw the best athletes in the world, and they're supporting me. And then I started to realize, oh my gosh, there's not many men in this sport. Even when I go around the world, there's not many men in this sport. But, I was stubborn. Again, I'm very, very, very stubborn. No matter what it is, if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to blast through that wall and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to prove them wrong. Because I feel if anyone has a dream and a desire, that they should be able to accomplish whatever they want. So in around 2000, there was a vote. And that vote was to determine whether men would be allowed to compete. And unfortunately, they turned it down. I competed for the Olympic trials in 2000. I qualified for the team, but I could not compete because I was a man. And that stung a little bit, but I had known this. I knew that I wouldn't be able to go to the Olympics. So I continued to train. I loved what I did. I continued to want to be the best synchronized swimmer in the world. I continued to go to the pool every day, love what I do, train as hard as I could, try to push the boundaries of synchronized swimming. If I was going to be a man in synchronized swimming, I was going to show what a man could do in synchronized swimming. We weren't trying to displace a woman. We weren't trying to, be something that we weren't. So even before that, in 1998, I was put with my longtime duet partner, Christina Lum. She was the most beautiful person and the most beautiful swimmer I'd ever seen. And I couldn't believe that my coach put us together. But she said, I want to revolutionize the sport of synchronized swimming. I want to do an event like you would see in ice skating, like you would see in ice dancing. So we modeled our routine off of the ice dancers, Torval and Dean, who were Olympic champions. And we swam to Ravel's Bolero. And it was such an incredible feeling to be able to start to change the look of synchronized swimming. We weren't two athletes swimming together, which is beautiful, but we were a different type of beauty because we were a man and woman swimming together. So Christina Lum and I swam until 2000, where she went to the Olympics. She took a year off, and I swam with another swimmer, Anna Kozlova, and then Christina came back for 2002 and 2003. In those years, I saw these athletes training as hard as they could for the 2004 Olympics. I was training hard with them. We were going to competitions. We were going to Germany. We were going to Rome. We were anywhere we could possibly go to learn, to experience, to become better athletes. And then 2004 rolled around, and all of my friends and teammates began telling me that what they were going to do after their career, they were going to go to the Olympics. And it was very difficult for me because not only were they my teammates, I saw them going for their dreams, which is so incredible. But that's what I wanted to do too, and I wanted to be with them. I wanted to support them. So I helped coach the 2004 team, and in that year, I was contacted by Cirque du Soleil. And at that moment, I thought, I love Cirque du Soleil. I mean, it's a beautiful, incredible show, but I'm not sure if my dreams are going that way. And it was another road I had to choose. Do I want to stay and compete in synchronized swimming, or do I want to take that other road? And finally, I decided my teammates were retiring. I'd done as much as I possibly could at that time. And even though I loved to still swim and compete, this was a different challenge. I was going to go to this world-famous Cirque du Soleil. It was a circus of people, a circus that astounded the world. And I thought, if I could bring what I've learned in artistic swimming and continue to grow there, my life is going to be great. So in 2004, after the Olympics, after I helped train the Olympic team and my friends went to win a bronze medal, I went to training for Cirque du Soleil. And that was incredible. It was a show where 4,000 people were cheering us on every single night. And there was such a feeling. It was a different feeling that I had received when I was competing, but it was still the same feeling, and there was still something a little missing, and I was the only man in the show. There was no other men at that time in the show, but it was still an incredible opportunity, and I was still showing that there are men in artistic swimming, in synchronized swimming. And then 2004, we were approached by the executive director of synchronized swimming, and she said, "Hey, you left the sport 10 years ago, but they might put the sport back into the Olympics." And I thought, or not the Olympics, the World Championships. And I thought, oh my gosh. And she said, "Would you do it?" And I couldn't even say yes fast enough. I began training right away just in case that would ever happen. So in November of 2014, my life changed again. So they voted and it passed to put the World Championships, an event at the World Championships, to have that mixed duet. And it was incredible. It happened at the end of my show one night, and my partner, Christina Lum, at the time was pregnant, and she was about to give birth a month later. So we called upon her and asked her if she would be willing to do this, even knowing that she was about to give birth. And things like this again. She was about to give birth, and she was still willing to put her body through that for something that she believed in. She believed in the mixed duet, and she believed that this should be an event. So again, when people were to say, "Why would you do this sport?" I do this sport because I love the sport like any other athlete, and I think that everyone should be able to do whatever they love. We have so many opportunities now, and from both men and women, and now we're really fighting for gender equality and equal rights. And this is an opportunity to show what a sport can do for livelihood. So it was at the end of the show in November 2014, and we had asked another girl, Christina Jones, to swim with us. So Christina Lum would do one program, and Christina Jones would do another program. And the vote had come in, and they told us that it passed for the World Championships. So Christina Jones and I came out of the locker rooms, and we looked at each other and we said, "I can't believe it. It passed." And we just stood and we cried and we hugged each other, and it was a beautiful moment because finally, we're seeing the evolution of the sport. The history of the sport is changing. I had for so long been alone at these competitions, and now I was going to go to the World Championships, and there was going to be men. The sport was evolving. So in the summer of 2015, I swam the technical program with Christina Jones and the free program with Christina Lum. Christina Lum had given birth the very beginning of January and had come back with her body, with her skill, with her level of athleticism to compete in July. So that was so inspiring. And then Christina Jones and I swam the technical program. And, this was a dream I thought I had tucked away. But when we had this opportunity, Christina Jones and I, we did the technical program, and we became the first mixed duet world championships. And that was such a feeling of honor, because there were so many people that had supported me and shown me love, and that didn't discriminate against me. So again, when people said, "Why would you do the sport?" Because I loved it. And I think the overall theme here is, I believe anyone should be able to do whatever they love. Why should someone be excluded from something? So I ended up going we got a gold medal in the technical program, and then we got a silver medal in the free program. And I ended up going to the World Championships with Kanako Kitao from Japan, who became an American citizenship, who got her American citizenship, and we swam the 2017 World Championships. And then she retired, and I went to one more World Championships in 2019. And I didn't win gold every year, but it was an honor and a privilege and something very, very, very beautiful to see that every World Championships, there was more men. Every competition that we would go to in preparation for the World Championships, I saw more men competing. And it brought me such joy that these competitions, it's not a one-time thing where you think, if I win a gold medal, that's going to be the best part of my life. It's not. Because for the longest time, my career didn't involve a gold medal or the World Championships or the Olympic Games. It involved me being in a sport that I loved and trying to be the best synchronized swimmer I could possibly be. So as I see the men improve and the sport grow, it's very dear to my heart. And I know I will always be in this sport. So it's been an honor to be able to compete with these amazing and incredible athletes, and the female athletes. And this doesn't take away anything that the females are doing. They are also beyond incredible, but it's a different event, and it should be judged differently. It should be understood differently. A man and woman are going to be different than two females swimming together, but also two men swimming together. So we're not just talking about men in a sport. We're talking the look of a very specific event. So it's very distinguished in a way, and it should be judged that way. We need to have rules. We need to have requirements that will showcase this very special event that will be different than two people of the same sex swimming together. So that's something that I continue to push for in this mixed duet event. I really want to see it judged differently. I want to see it choreographed different. I want to see it grow and grow and grow. And eventually I want to see it equally represented at all the championships around the world and national championships. So now they're talking about, adding men to teams and group numbers. And I think, again, it just makes my heart full, and they're soon going to be judging. I wish my partner and I had really hoped that we could go to the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. But unfortunately, it wasn't added. So she retired and she moved on with her family and her life. And she's actually at Cirque du Soleil with me. But still to see the event growing is incredible. And, we wanted to go to the Olympics. But now to see that they're thinking about adding men into mixed teams, the sport's growing, the men's growing, and it just makes me incredibly, very, very happy. And actually in December, I hear that they're going to vote to add the mixed duet into the Olympic Games in 2024. So right now, I'm retired, but who knows? I am probably the oldest of any synchronized swimmer that's ever competed. But I don't think, there's no age. Again, if someone were to tell me I'm too old, I would say, whoa. There you go. I'm in it because no one can ever tell me what I can or cannot do. You know, I've been booed. You know, I have been called a pervert because all I wanted to do is swim with these girls, but that's not true. And again, no one has the right to tell anyone what they can or cannot do. So, you know, I'm seeing the sport grow, and even at last year, we had 2 more men who also competed at the World Championships with me, Benoit Beaufils and Atsushi Abe, who they're very, very, very dear friends. So it's been an honor to be able to perform with them at Cirque du Soleil's and to learn from them and to be inspired by them and to share these moments with them, because it's not about just competition. When we went to the World Championships, there was this camaraderie because we had all faced these hardships. You know, we had all been made fun of. We had all been bullied. We'd all been told that we had no career in synchronized swimming. And we all proved them wrong, because there we were, standing on the podium, competing at the World Championships, training in the same pool together, showing everyone around the world that men should be involved in artistic swimming. So, you know, I'm very honored to say that I've been amongst the world's best in learning from them and becoming friends with them and showing the world that this sport is growing, it's evolving, and it's something that I hope everyone would accept for men to be involved in the sport. And, you know, I just want people to be inspired by men in the sport and inspire other men to be in the sport and know that it may not be an easy road, and maybe we should choose another path, but why? We love what we do like any other athlete. We're not asking to be different, we're asking to be equal. And, you know, that's my story. And in closing, I would like to read you a poem from a very special poet that is very dear to my heart, because I think it's very impactful and very powerful poem that truly sums up a lot of stories for men in the sport of synchronized swimming, of artistic swimming. So it's a poem by Robert Frost, and it reads, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as far that the passing there had warned them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept that first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. That poem is very special to me, and it's funny to see how one small decision, one moment in your life can impact you and everyone around you. The kindness that people had given me, the support that I had received from my family, my friends, my coaches. I was taught that we were given a ladder and we could not climb without that ladder lifting us higher. And that's what these people have done in my life. That's what these people have given me, the gift of supporting me in everything I've done. And the poem is very important to me because I could have chosen a different path. Maybe a path would have been easier had I gone a different direction, but we don't want easy. We live this life to be the best people that we can possibly be, to be the strongest athletes, to surpass every person that says no, every person that stands in our way and says we will never be anything. We want to be better than that. We want to show them our love, our heart. So I just want to say to you guys, thank you. thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your program, your conference, and I hope one day that we can meet in person, and I hope you would show your love to our sport, to all sports, and anyone that would really like to do what they love, because the love that they share is going to come back to all of us. All right, I hope you're all well. I hope to see you guys soon, and take care. Bye-bye.
Now let's welcome them and start with the discussion. Hello everyone, thank you for joining me, and it's such a great pleasure to have you all. Okay, since we have already shared our personal stories with each other, and does anyone has any questions? Bill, have you ever seen the rhythmic gymnastic men's?
I have watched so many videos of that, and I think it's so cool. And we actually, in some ways, try to mimic sometimes in artistic swimming, because there's a lot of beauty in it, but it's still masculine, and that's what we want to go for with artistic swimming, because we do want it as a separate event. And we wanted to complement the girls, but we also want it as a different event and a different type of movement. So in watching that, it's very, very graceful, but at the same time, very powerful and very beautiful. So yeah, that was amazing. And it was cool to see the young kids doing it with the boys and the girls.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very impressive.
Yes. Masaki-san, do you have any questions for two people?
はい、僕も皆さんのプレゼンを見せていただいたんですけれども、やっぱり正直僕は男子新体操しかずっとやっていないので、いろんなスポーツがあって、その中でもやっぱジェンダーのことで苦しんでいたり、これから新しい道を開いていこうという方がいっぱいいるんだなっていうふうにプレゼンを見てはい。
And Friba.
So many million questions for Friba.
I am happy to answer them all.
Are you 100% Afghanian?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, my family always lived in Afghanistan since forever. My family is from north of Afghanistan. If you might heard on the news and articles that we're Hazaras, minorities. We look a little bit like what you call in North America Asians.
Yes.
So yeah, but I am from Afghanistan, born and raised there.
Wow. Yeah, I had so many questions because I was thinking you look a little Japanese, and you speak perfectly. You speak English perfectly.
Thank you. I try. Thanks.
And your story is. Sorry, I don't mean to talk if anybody is talking. But your story is amazing. My mom is visiting, and we were talking about it. And it's those type of stories are so inspiring, because every time someone thinks, it's a difficult struggle, we never really have to fight for our life. It's not a matter of, whether we'll live or die. It's whether we can compete or we can't compete. So to add yours, cannot compete, live or die, it really brings a lot of things to light. And it's very inspiring to hear your story and how your own family members have kind of shunned you at this. And I've been very fortunate because my family is very supportive. But to have your family, for you to say that your family is, they were like wanting to hurt you, that's unreal. And then your student, it's so I commend you. It's something I could never even imagine having to go through. It's incredible. So thank you for sharing your story.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for your kind words and nice comments. Yeah, Afghanistan has progressed a lot since the fall of the Taliban, but still it's a very different world. It's like a different planet there. But yeah, the struggle is real there. The challenges are real. Girls are still fighting for their rights, for the gender equality, just to even have or gain the basic rights. Basic rights, I mean, to be able to go outside, to join any sports they want, compete in any competitions they want. They need a particular permission from their family members. So struggle is absolutely real there. But thank you. I really appreciate your support.
It's incredible.
What was the reaction of your family when you start the sport? Boxing or judo?
So my family went to Pakistan. We took refuge in Pakistan during the regime of Taliban in the middle of 90s. We went to the neighboring province, Peshawar, and I watched Laila Ali's and Mike Tyson's live matches, and I wanted to do the same. And as I also mentioned on my presentation, that I wanted to challenge Laila Ali because I really believed that I could do that. When I suggested, I am really sorry, it's getting 7 o'clock here. People are cheering for the medical workers, so there might be some noise coming from outside.
That's cool.
Okay.
Thank you. When I mentioned the idea of joining a sports in my family, it was not very welcomed from everyone. My mom did not agree. 2 of my brothers did not agree. My father was very supporting. 2 of my brothers were very supporting. And of course, my sisters, because sisters always support each other. So the reaction was pretty intense. And it was like, okay, we will think about it, or they will disagree with it completely. And when we went back to Afghanistan after the fall of the Taliban, after the American invasion in 2001, I wanted to pursue my dream, and I immediately enrolled one of the sports centers. And I told my mother that I want to go and train boxing. She did not agree because boxing is all the sports are considered men and boys activity, something that men do, boys do, not girls. It's not traditional for women, for what is expected from girls to get married at early age and go to their husbands' wives and become housewife, bear children, just to fulfill the traditional role, what are expected from them. And but I kept going, and I was the only girl doing boxing in the entire country at that time. In 2001 and 2002, until I found this judo center. And every day when I would come home, my mother would get very angry at me. 2 of my brothers would get angry at me. My relatives would get angry at me by saying that I'm breaking the traditions. I'm being a bad influence on other girls, especially young girls, because I'm not doing my traditional roles. So it was very intense, and there are so many times that I would hide my training from my relatives and the area where we lived, because the neighbors disapproved of my activity as well. They would see me that I was not covering my head whenever I went outside. I wore tight pants, tight jeans, and a t-shirt on top. They would get very angry with me, and they would cause problem for me. And when I found this judo club, I told my parents and my family that I really want to go try this. This is what I want to do. They did not agree at first, but I tried to convince them that it's only girls' place where they only train girls, and it has a uniform that's covered from shoulder to toes, and it's a very covered indoor sport. So they agreed in some extent. For a very long time, my mother did not agree. But I would just go after my classes, after my classes from school, go and train for 1 or 2 hours daily, and would go back home. And because I wasn't supported and my family was not rich, we did not have car at that time, and I could not ride bicycles. So the only way for me to go to dojo and come back home would be on foot. So I would travel on foot for 45 minutes to 1 hour. And there would be daily argument with my cousins, other close relatives, about this. But I would just fight for my rights, and I would not listen to them. I would just keep insisting that this is my right, this is what I would like to do, and I want you guys to support me. My mother realized that it's a very good activity, and she also realized that I was a very hard-headed child, and I was full of energy, always want to do something. And she understood, and she started supporting me. My father always supported me. And when I was traveling to India for the first time to compete at one of the tournaments in India, one of my brother made a very bad wish for me, like, I hope your airplane crashes because you're such a dishonor to the family. You're bringing shame to the family, not only to the family, to the neighborhood, to the community, and to everyone in the community for not being a traditional Afghan girl. That broke my heart, and I remembered that day very well, but I kept going. And my father, one of my older brother who teaches at Tufts University in Boston now, he encouraged me, and by that time we got a car. And my older brother, the nice brother, he took me to the airport and dropped me off at the airport, and I joined my team, and we flew to India for my tournament.
Bill, how do you think about it?
I think it's crazy. You know, it's again, it just shows not only about the diversity within the sport, but even among your family, because sometimes, you know, your family is your safe haven, your place where the outside world can be crazy, but you expect to come home and share these special times. And when you don't have that support, I think it makes it difficult. And then you question whether you want to continue to do the sport at all. Is it worth it? Like what your coach said, you know, is the sport more important than death? You know, and I guess in some ways, it could be, you know, like it is giving you life. Like sport does give us life, and it gives us a future. So, you know, in the physical sense, maybe it's not more important than life or death, but in your heart, in your mind, it is an aspect of your life that keeps you living. So, you know, I think it's incredible that you not only fought the boundary of the sport, but you fought the boundaries of your family, and, you know, like in the predisposition and predisposed beliefs of people that thought, you know, like even sport in itself was just for men or for, you know, guys. It's amazing. And I can't, you know, it's nice that you continue to do it, and you have your goal, your foundation, or your, you know, your goal group, and I think it's amazing.
And how about Bill? When you said that I will do the synchronized swimming, how was the reaction of your mom and dad?
You know, I think my mom has always been, both of my parents have always been very, very supportive. And within my family, they always, whatever I wanted to do, they accepted that. My biggest thing was from people from the outside world, thinking that it was more of a women's sport. Why would I do a women's sport? And then even people that cared about me personally would still ask why I would do it when I have no future. It's basically like, why waste your time with something that you can never do? But, you know, it's a constant learning experience. You know, like all of our sports have taught us discipline. They've taught us interactions with other people. They have taught us, you know, how to fail, how to succeed. And I think it's life lessons that we may not be competing for the rest of our life, but we are learning from these sports. And, you know, hopefully we can give back to athletes that, you know, are kind of going through the same thing, because there's always going to be people fighting for something, you know, because fighting for the beliefs, because there's always people that are against them. So if there's any small way that we can take our experience and give back to these people, I think that is what, you know, what gives us life and gives us the passion to continue and to love our sport.
How is Masaki? When you say that I will do the rhythmic gymnastic, how was your mother's and father's reaction?
はい、僕の場合、男子新体操っていう競技がですね、映像で見てもらった通り、女子の新体操とはまた違ったような感じなので、まずはバク転ができるようになりたいなっていうところで、もう最初はもうただバク転を教わりに行くっていうような感覚だったので、両親としてもそんなに抵抗はなかったんですけども、もしそれが本当に女性の新体操みたいにリボンを回すっていうような競技であれば、もしかしたらそんなことしないでもいいんじゃないのかみたいな言われたかもしれないなとは思いますね。
周りの人からのリアクションはどうでしたか？
そうですね、まず男子の新体操をしてるって言うと、リボン回してるんでしょみたいななんかピチピチのレオタード着て踊ってるのみたいな、大丈夫みたいなぐらいの感じでは言われてはいたんですけれど、バク転とかできるとやっぱり違うんだっていう理解はしてもらえたので。
And Friba, when you're selected as a member of the Olympics 2004, also your family refused to accept your sports?
When I received the information and the confirmation that I will be competing at the Olympics in Athens in 2004, I told my parents. My mother was shocked, and I had to explain what Olympic is to my mother, because my mother was coming from a small village in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, she never had a chance to go to school. But my father is self-taught. He taught himself American English. He taught himself how to read and write, basic literacy. So I explained to my mother what Olympic is and how I'm going. She was still against it until like days that I was leaving for the Olympics. But she was coming to a realization that I'm unstoppable. She couldn't stop me. And it was similar reaction from my close relatives, from my cousins and cousins' cousins. They were against it, and a lot of them did not even know what Olympic is. But the rest of the country knew what it is. But I just went for it, and after my match, when my match ended, I was crying over the phone, and I needed support. I called my family back in Afghanistan, and my father and my older brother, who supported me at everything in my life, they were on the phone with me, and they wanted to support me because I was crying very bad. And they both said, my father and my brother said that, please don't worry so much for not winning the game, because this was like a first step on the moon.
Wow.
That made me feel a bit better, because they said that you did not win. We understand that, but you also made history. You paved the way for other girls and for other women in Afghanistan, and that's what I wanted.
But I heard that you were threatened by someone. Is that right?
By relatives, yes. By people in the neighborhood, yes. By the people from my community, yes. My cousins, they still threaten me that if I speak up for gender equality, if I speak for women's rights, they threaten me that they hurt me. They are still against it because they are very close-minded, and they don't have the proper right education to understand this.
Yes.
They fear that if women have freedom and women are independent, they're gonna break all the traditions that what our ancestors worked for, and they will also break the Islamic law, which is not true. All women want is just, we want to have a normal life, and we just want to have our basic rights that we are entitled to. So yeah, a lot of people in Afghanistan were against it, and they threatened me, but a lot of people also supported me, like my Afghan coach supported me, and there was the Judo for Peace organization, Judo for Friends, supported from Norway. they supported me so much. They made it possible for me to go to the Olympics. So, but I also had many supporters, and it went on the media that me and the other girl participated in the Olympics for the first time in the history, and we were becoming a little bit famous in the town, the city, the media. So yeah, but it was getting very dangerous for my family, and for me to roam around freely in my own country, in my own city, the city where I was born. After I came back from the Olympics, I hid for 3 days. So I'm not outside, so I'm not easily targeted, because people were looking for me. The fundamentalists were looking for me, and they were very angry for me for not covering my head. And I participated in an international tournament where the world saw an Afghan Muslim girl without the hijab and without what they call proper dresses. And judo is on the mat, you fall on the mat, various positions. So there were a lot of anger, and there were a lot of serious threats and challenges for sure. But when I think about it, it's all worth it. It's all worth it. It was worth it for me. It's worth it for the other girls, and it was worth it for my family. Yeah, because someone has to fight for other women's rights, for gender equality, for the rights that we are entitled to, our natural rights. We have to fight. It's going to be a very rough ride. It's going to be very challenging, and it has been since the day I was born, but it's worth it. And no rights, no life.
I heard that recently there are a lot of people who do the jujutsu or judo in your country. Is that right?
Yes. Surprisingly, judo is very popular in Afghanistan for two reasons. First of all, a lot of martial arts are very popular in Afghanistan. They're practiced, and it's very popular among girls because they're indoors and they have full covered uniform, like taekwondo, karate, wushu. There's even wushu, judo, all because of the uniform, and because it's easily organized by gender, women's section, women's rooms, and then guys. So yeah, it is very popular, and judo plays a very important role in Afghanistan among women and among youngsters for many reasons. The first reason is that it's self-defense. A lot of women want to have good self-defense, and also because of the violence and because of the abuse in Afghanistan on women and girls. They want to regain the control of their mind, and to reclaim their bodies. Judo is a full body sport. So once you learn to do judo properly, you also gain control of your body, which a lot of Afghan women don't have. They don't have control of their lives. They don't have control of their bodies. So judo is very helpful in helping them to have that control over their bodies and their lives. And everybody knows that it's a Japanese sport. Everybody loves it. People who do it. At that time when I joined the judo club, we were only 3 girls in the entire country. It was me and 2 other girls in the entire country. And they were girls, but they were very young. They were like 5, 6 years old. But now they're hundreds. And a majority of those girls want to become world champions. Like those 2 girls that traveled with me to Japan for the first time, they want to get the world champion title. They want to be seen as a strong judo stars in the world. They big dream with judo, and lots of girls are practicing. The issue is that the same issue that the problems that I had with my family, with my community and my relatives, they also have that. I am much better now. I am more stronger than I used to be when I was younger, when I was at their age. But those girls don't have this safety, this control, and this power yet. That's why I am supporting them, and I started this goal organization so they can have the platform where to come practice, gain control of their lives, and be whomever they want to be.
I mean, it continues to impress and impress and impress me. But when you were small, were you, did you have to spar, or I don't know what you would call it in judo, with guys or with girls, or like, did you, who did you have to kind of fight with?
In 2002, 3, 4, we were practicing. Sometimes we trained with the boys together because of the room availability, but the majority of time we trained like only with the girls because that was we were allowed. And whenever we practiced with the boys, we would get frowned upon by the society, by the community, and we would try not to make a big deal out of it so the news doesn't escape. And my coach always believed that it's important for us to practice together as well. So it's to become normal, to normalize the mixed gender training. But the majority of time it was only girls. And right now, it's only girls training is separated from boys training. And at that time, one time, I remember this very well, that I wanted to practice with the boys because there weren't many girls, and I was not receiving the training that I wanted, so I went to train with the boys at the same dojo. And then there was this lady who was working in that community, in the center. She came over to my house and talked to my parents very angrily that why Friba is training with the boys. This is very bad. This is a bad influence, and this is very dangerous. And she asked my father to stop me from practicing with the boys. But whenever we got a chance, we practiced together.
And how did the boys react to a girl, an Afghan girl doing judo in Afghanistan?
It was mixed. The boys were definitely shocked to come to the dojo. There are girls who do not cover their head, don't wear hijab. They practice with the boys. And judo, there's a lot of wrestling on the ground. Wrestling, there's a lot of body contact. They were shocked, but our judo instructor and coach had a very strict rule for no harassment in the dojo and no inappropriate comments or no inappropriate body contact among girls. So he would watch us like laser, and he would make sure that we are safe. There were boys who supported us, and they wanted their sisters to have the same opportunity as well. But there were also boys who were against it, and they were threatening my judo coach and me that because we have mixed gender training, they will come and do something to the dojo. Probably they will bomb the dojo or do something that stop us from having mixed gender training.
Bill, I think that the coach is very important existence because your coach Chris Carver permit you to train with the girls. Yeah, well,
I think our coaches are so important because they become like second parents. They guide us. They're the ones that kind of invoke that determination in us, and just instill the values that we have to be champions. And it's like Riva Masaki, whether any of us will ever bring home a gold medal at the Olympics, I think that doesn't necessarily mean that we are champions. I think the way that you guys have fought for the sport and to kind of bring other people in, and I think that's the support of the coach. They've taught us to fight for these things, to do the best that we can, and an Olympic medal can come and go. Like it's amazing. Yeah,
at that moment of glory, it's just beautiful. But it's the things that come after it, you know, the walls that we've broken down and the people that we've helped and just the evolution of our sports. Because it's, you know, these sports, there's always going to be people that win, that lose. But, you know, we all care about our sport. And I think that is what really propels our sport forward, is that these people like Riba and, you know, Masaki that have fought for these sports that, you know, that are progressing their sports into the future. So yeah, I think the coaches are even more important because they nurture us, they show us empathy, they give us love, and they're hard on us when they need to be. And those are the type of coaches that create champions. You know, not gold medals, but champions. Mm-hmm. You know, and my coach, when I was saying I had a story about my first coach, and she told me that I should leave the sport. And it wasn't because she didn't necessarily think I was good, even though I wasn't good, I was bad. But she, you know, like she loved me because she loved me as a person. And she was showing herself as a good coach. But, you know, that's also what made me decide that I was going to prove her wrong, my own stubbornness to, you know, just going at a sport that I loved. You know, and that's all that we can really ask for our sports, is to be hard on our coaches, to be hard on us, to drive us and to motivate us. And in some weird kind of way, she motivated me because she told me that I couldn't do it. And that's what made me think, okay, you know, no one can tell me. No one, you know, and Riva, like, I'm sure that motivated you too, because you seem like a very strong person. So even if your family said you couldn't do it, you know, all that you could do is show them that they're wrong. And obviously you did, because you created a beautiful career, a beautiful, you know, group, your goal group. So I think that's, you know, I think that stubbornness is what else in these gender difficult times, that's what propels these athletes and these sports forward.
菅さん、自分のケースと、あと今教える立場になってるじゃないですか。で、女の子たちと男の子たち一緒に練習するっていうケースも見えるんですけど、なんかそこで感じること、コーチの存在としてジェンダーに対してこうありたいなって思う思いは何かありますか？
そうですね。僕は今男子の子たちしか男子の新体操しか教えてないので、なかなかこう女子の子たちと接する機会っていうのはないんですけれども、やっぱり新しく始めることっていうのはどうしてもこう否定的になる人っていうのは絶対に存在してしまうといいますか、いてしまうので、やっぱりこういういろんなビル・メイさんだったりフリーバーさんたちの話を聞いて、やっぱりこう否定的に新しいことに挑戦することに対して否定的になるのはやっぱりちょっと良くないことだなというふうには思ってますし、今男子新体操をやってる女の子たちの指導者の方に話を聞いたところ、すごいもう女の子たちがもうポジティブに考えていましてですね、私たちしかこういうことをやってないんだということにポジティブに考えれる子たちみたいなので、もう男子には負けないように頑張ってて、最近はちょっと男の子の方が押されてるっていう話は、その指導している先生からは聞きました。はい。
Please. Bill.
Yeah, I have a question for Masaki. So as I understand, Japan has like a big culture of like art, like very beautiful and art. Was it difficult to do Japanese rhythmic gymnastics? Did people like did they see it as him wanting to do something beautiful, or like a female sport?
今現在ですともう新しいスポーツとして捉えている人の方が多いんじゃないかなというふうに思いますね。今は男子新体操も結構日本でも認知されつつある状況なので、オリンピックでもリオオリンピックでの閉会式でパフォーマンスしたりだとか、どっちかというとこうスポーツ競技っていうより、シルク・ドゥ・ソレイユでもやってる通り、こうスポーツっていうよりどっちかというとパフォーマンスに近いような感覚で捉えてる人が多いんじゃないかなと思います。
Bill, recently the men's gymnastics is very, very popular, and a lot of young women cheering the men's rhythmic gymnastics.
There was one male rhythmic gymnast back in like 2000 that was starting to make it, but I think it was different than the Japanese rhythmic gymnastics. And that was one thing I had a question about too. How does the Japanese rhythmic gymnastics differ from the female rhythmic gymnastics? Is it, I know it's more masculine, but does it follow the same rules? Can they compete? Do they compete with other countries? Because in the US, the rhythmic gymnastics from the Japanese rhythmic gymnastics is all over YouTube. Probably everyone has seen these beautiful videos. So it's an amazing thing to watch.
試合の形式についてだと、団体競技6人でやる団体競技はもう団体競技だけで順位が決まるような感じですね。で、個人競技だと個人4種目あるので、スティックリング、ロープ、クラブという4種目を1個ずつやって、それの総合得点で個人選手の順位が決まるっていう形にはなってますね。で、日本でしかやってないので、はい、世界ではまだ男子新体操という競技をやってはいないので、本当に日本だけっていう感じになります。で、これが世界に男子新体操行くってなった場合には、僕たちが今やってるものを果たして男子新体操と呼んでいいのかっていうところから話になるので、国際的には全然設備されてないっていう状況ですね。
I'd like to ask you, each of you, what do you think are the solution to avoid gender discrimination in sports? If you have some opinion, please raise your hand, Friba, Bill, or Masaki. Oh, yes, Friba.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to go first for this question. I believe that sports should be gender ambiguous. And it has been, it's just society constructed this term gender based on their benefits and however they wanted to shape the society. So they could rule, they could control. And in order to, and what are the solutions to avoid gender discrimination is, as what Bill said that a few minutes ago, that we need champions. We need champions to demonstrate and illustrate to other people in the society that it's gender, sport is not based on someone's gender. Anybody can do and should be able to do whatever sports they want to do. And the society, people's psychology, people's psyche believe what they see, what they hear. So we need more champions, we need more icons, we need more role models to set examples to this generation, to the generation and the generation in the future, to normalize these sports for all genders. And also discussions like this, it's very, very important to host such discussions online, in person, conferences, to tackle these issues, to talk about it as much as you can, as much as possible, until there is no gender issue and in sports, and just keep fighting for gender equality until everybody has their rights and there's gender equality everywhere in the world.
I see. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How about Bill?
I agree with Reba. I think you're beyond amazing. And I think that in a way we're very fortunate that we've started in the very beginning of gender equality. Well, like we've gone through a lot of things. We just started. Like we've gone through so many things that, like we can continue to kind of express our knowledge and teach what we've learned. And again, don't try to hide it. We go through so many things, and whether it be in the rules, whether it be in, again, what Riva said, discussions, very, very literate in everything that we do, and what we say in our sport is just put everything out there. Let them know that there will be things. I mean, we have opposite, like very extreme what Riva went through to just being made fun of and all these things. And don't try to hide these things. Like even with what our world is going through, even outside of sport, we see that there's going to be a lot of people that are very against, gender equality. So I think that we need to, plan for the worst and hope for the best. We tell these athletes to love what you do, know that it's going to be a difficult path, but we are there because we've been there. We're there to love you. We're there to nurture you. We're there to make you become the best athlete you can be because you deserve it. We should all be equal. The thing about the Olympic Games is that hopefully it knows no boundaries, it knows no gender, it knows no country. And I think that that's what we need to continue to teach and to express and to fight for. And I think that's the only way to do it, and not try to hide anything, because if you hide anything, then, it will come up and then we won't be prepared. So the more that we can prepare, I think the better it'll be.
まさきさんはどうでしょう。菅さんは。
そうですね、先ほどもちょっとお話はしたんですけれども、男女の違いっていうところに関しては、やっぱりどうしようも変え難いような事実っていうのは間違いなくあるのかなとは思うんですけれども、その差をネガティブではなくポジティブに考えることは非常に大事なことじゃないかなというふうにも思いますし、またこのような機会でいろんな方々といろんな状況であったり話をやっぱ共有し合うっていう、辛かったことだったり、すごいこういうことを頑張ったらこうなったんだよとか、そういう話し合いっていうやっぱ場っていうのは多分非常に大事になってくるんじゃないかなというふうに思いますし、あとはやっぱり新しく始めることに関してどうしても否定的になる人っていうのはいると思うので、やっぱそういうことに否定的にならずに、やっぱり認めてあげるっていうことが非常に重要なんじゃないかなと思いますね。はい。
Are there any messages to the audience? Okay, Bill.
I have one. Thank you. And I think we would probably all agree. I think, as we've said, is that we can love our sport as hard and as much as we can, but the people that also support our sport and the gender inclusion, I think that's what our sport needs, and that's what helps all of our sports grow. So thank you for everyone that is watching these videos and for helping us and supporting us. And I think that's what is causing the inclusion of different genders in different sports. So, thank you for supporting us, for loving us, and for allowing us to be here and be part of this symposium. It's an honor to be with these great athletes and with you all. And so thank you very much.
Hi, Friba, please.
Yeah, also, thank you so much for having me. It was truly an honor to be part of this big symposium and the conference. Just to be able to speak, it's a big deal for me, and I'm really grateful to that, to be able to speak my voice, to speak for other Afghan women, to be a voice for those Afghan women. And also my message is that for the audience, that please invest in girls and the people who are breaking the gender barriers in the society, like Bill, like Masaki, who are changing the world for the better, where they want to make an equal world for everyone. It's very important that we notice these actions. It's very important to notice the changes that they are making, and it's our job as audience to make sure that we harness them and we keep going with the positive changes, because the next generation are depending on us, and they're going to need our help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes. じゃあ、まさきさんお願いします。
はい、まずはこのような機会をいただいてありがとうございます。僕としては、男子新体操という競技をぜひいろんな方々に知ってほしいなという思いで、今回お話をさせていただきました。また僕自身もすごいいろんな勉強を自分が話す中でもさせてもらいました。 で、男子新体操っていう競技は、女性がやっても、こう、かっこいいと言いますか、素敵なスポーツなんだっていうことを改めて僕も実感することができたので、すごくいい貴重な体験をさせてもらったということで、本当にありがとうございました。
Thank you, everyone. This concludes our symposium that everybody has a right to play sports. Thank you. Thank you. See you. Bye.
ありがとうございます。Thank you.
ありがとう。Thank you, everyone. Everybody has a right to play sports. This concludes our symposium. I'd like to express my appreciation to our sponsor of this symposium, JKA, the Japan Carrying Out Race Foundation. And there is information about the subsidy from JKA for the researcher living in Japan. Please check it. So, thank you very much for watching.